Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. With the most Terran player out there in the red, it's Micro Jackson. ByuN. Up against one of the smartest Protoss in the game right now, the Surgeon. It's Nightmare. A best of 3 Protoss versus Terran, where either we're going to see Nightmare reinvent the matchup yet again, or ByuN roll him over with a bio ball. Either way, before we get started, it'd be awesome if you could like, and if you haven't made it there yet, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe as well. But Jimmy, what are we? 1,357 likes on this video, on this cast, on this series. I'll cast another one, and I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As, well, I give it a 50-50 chance. Nightmare has had ByuN's number. I think everyone has ByuN's number now. Let's not pretend like we don't know what ByuN's going to do here. He's going to throw some random early factory units out there. We got Cyclones this time around. And then he's going to make Marines, Marauders, Ghosts, and Medivacs. If we're extra lucky, we're going to see Vikings and Liberators. But, well, I say all that. And then, just a week ago, he beat Max Packs with Mass Cyclones and Mechs. So ByuN still showing he has the capability to bring something new to the table, just choosing not to. Which, you know, that kind of the Terran motto. Now, Nightmare, on the other hand, is the most book-smart Protoss. He makes all the right decisions. And a lot of the time, it works out for him. But everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, which is a phrase somewhat complicated by the fact that Protoss don't have mouths. But the sentiment still applies, as a Reaper wall is here, and serving its purpose of walling out the Reaper, of course, but also being a liability that I think these Cyclones are... 1 Cyclone is for defense. 2 Cyclones is to make things very difficult for your opponent. It does slow down the rest, but you have to respect the Cyclones, just in general, as a Protoss, because until you get Blink, they can beat any gateway unit 1v1 relatively easily, especially since they can lock on and micro away. So, Nightmare not actually losing anything but a probe and an adept so far. And ByuN already has a 3rd command center on the way. So, gets back with the Cyclones, repairs them. 3 adepts is a bit suspicious. Does he? He doesn't even suspect. Well, he saw that. I was about to say he doesn't even suspect Stargate. But then I realized, even if you wall off the Reaper, that doesn't mean it doesn't get in and see the Twilight Council. So, he already knows. It's not going to be an Oracle or anything like that. It is Blank Stalkers. And ByuN on 3 command centers. All he's got to do is hold and build up to that 2-base bio ball. And he should be... Or I just said 3 command centers build up to a 2-base bio ball.
The numbers don't lie! And they spell disaster for you.
This is why you have to check the numbers every day, all right? Like and subscribe for math lessons. Templar Archives. That is a very quick 2-base Templar. He's not building a Robo-Bay at all. Which, curious and curiouser. Not even bothering with any sort of blink aggression, but instead just... He knows the Twilight was scouted, the Observer was scanned, a gateway explosion in the main base. Storm is on the way. He's rushing... I don't know if rushing is the right word, but he's certainly not wasting his time and getting up to Storm. The Blank Stalkers, shift clicking back, get a couple Marines. But ByuN, mostly unchecked, is going to be able to land his 3rd base. But how did you get in here? He just shaded in an adept? Okay. And then completes the shade and gets obliterated by siege tanks. He's gonna go Storm drops. But he actually scouted that adept, its life was not in vain because he scouted with the adept that there were no tanks here. Unfortunately, the Stalker's not able to get too much damage done, but How many Templar on that prism? 4 of them. A fully loaded warp prism. The Storm Hammer is loaded up. Charge is completed. That is a conspicuous prism. I think ByuN spotted it. And the only, like, he should know. A beautiful save on the tanks. Keeps them both alive. But Nightmare's gonna try to batter down the door with the charge lots. He decides to re-angle. He has an observer over everything. He's waiting, trying to draw ByuN out. But not committing. All right. The Warp Prism. Oh, he's holding. He's holding on to the Templar. He's making it look like a charge lot warp. I mean, it is a charge lot warping. But the drop. Oh no, you dropped me. What am I gonna do? And then, surprise! The storms come out of the SCVs! As well as the bio army. 8 SCVs dead. He can't lose that prism. He doesn't. He keeps it intact. A single Viking is on the way. He's going to want to just recall that. Maybe he comes in for more. Recall's out of vision range of ByuN. He just kept those Templar waited for his opportunity. He knocks out 8-9 SCVs. Not a huge blow. Observer is spotted by the incidental scan, which was looking for exactly that. Just got caught on the edge. But Nightmare, with a nice move to start, in order to... Well, this is keeping ByuN anchored back at home. It's intimidated him enough to keep, like, 20 supply of bio just chilling in his main base. Because he doesn't know that the Warp Prism was recalled. He might have his suspicions, but until he has the Vikings out... Yeah, and now he sees the Prism at the front. Obviously, you can build more than one, though. Ideally, you don't have to. And speaking... Wait, whoa. Double... he did build more than one. He's got 2 of them. This one, only charge lots inside. For now. The other one full of Templar still. Should have enough energy for another round of storms. The charge lots at the natural. Oh, I love the hold position into slurping them up into the prism. Beautifully done. Nightmare, so far, doing a great job of keeping map control for minimal cost. Using those storms well, and now shifting in towards Colossi. He has already encouraged some Viking production in order to deal with the prisms themselves. So those kind of are a built-in counter to the Colossi. We don't... No. Ah! Dead with all hands. Well, that was pretty sad. But that's a 200 IQ move to make him not suspect the second warp. No, that he overcommitted on that one. ByuN going down the center of the map. A single adept. Nightmare caught between a rock and a hard place, so he simply destroys the rock. But now, that is not an angle you can really fight in with those charge lots. It ain't gonna happen. It's a tough spot indeed, and ByuN acutely aware of it. Another observer sieges up over the top. Nightmare's been doing a great job of keeping the observer count. And some charge lots come by. They just target the sensor tower. ByuN gonna come back to defend. 1-1 upgrades for both sides. Just now working on +2. As the unit composition is far more important to keep together in this matchup than the upgrades themselves. There's so many abilities and so many units that just ignore upgrades. Or, for the most part, kind of don't really care too much about them. Whether it's Ghosts with EMP, whether it's Disruptors and Storm with their spell damage, the upgrades pale in comparison to the effectiveness of having the right unit composition. And there's the Prism. Who's flanking who? Well, if the Prism goes down with all 4 Templar, then certainly it's going to be ByuN. But Colossi on both sides of the... What is going on? EMPs, but the Templar get at least 1 storm off. More goes to the south side. More Templar wandering into the fray. Templar from the north and the south, but he's not able to get the vision at the watchtower. And ByuN, I think, will take a victory here on the field. Not a particularly decisive one, but he ends up losing all of the Colossi, all of the Templar. He's rebuilding both, but ByuN did not take any economic damage back at home. If a few more storms came through, and in fact he was able to get a surprising amount already, but it wasn't enough. ByuN holds the line, and the bio ball grows in strength and anger. Those medevacs out of energy, but that's just another day at the office for ByuN. The siege tanks holding the watchtower in the only awkward way they know how. 2-2 now done for Nightmare. A little bit quicker, probably throwing some Chrono Boost into the mix. And the Templar pre-splitting. Colossi. EMP hits just one Templar. Another one comes out, but the storms to ward things away. Nightmare doing a great job of keeping, of staggering those Templar in order to minimize the effectiveness. Snipes off another one with the Blink Stalkers. Widowmine returns fire. Two is done. For ByuN. +3/3 starts immediately. +3 weapons and +1 shields for Nightmare. Siege tanks. Taking a bite out of the Zealots. Nightmare in a very precarious position right now. He needs to survive as close to 200 supply as possible. He's not even bothering with disruptors. Such a different style of Protoss than we usually see. It's a lot more technical. Even though the disruptors are quite a micro-intensive unit, the Colossus Templar requires a whole lot. Oh, he doesn't have storms! He's a... Oh, this is awkward. The medevacs fly over. Meanwhile, a fusion core is on the way for ByuN. No, very likely for the Liberators. He's got 4 command centers as he's tearing through the main base. The Robo Bay can be targeted. EMPs from inside the main. More units coming back to defend, scrambling through the streets of his own gateways. More EMPs to soften up an Archon, but charge slots are warped in. The Stalkers can blink, get one of the full medevacs, another one. Those Templar might be able to hit him on the way out, actually moving away from the 4th, fighting in the center of the map. Colossi slicing through the Bio Army, but walking into the Marauders and getting pummeled. Shield battery overcharge helpful, but is it helpful enough? The drop being dealt with. Archon merge. Colossi will survive, both of them. There's only one more Viking in this fight. Down goes the Warp Prism, but there was nothing inside. ByuN doesn't know that for sure, though. More medevac's gonna go down. Where's the base? There's no... The 3rd is gone. What? During this, charge lots. Obviously, ByuN distracted as well, because the 3rd base is just gone. He's got another one to float in from the main, but... Nightmare. The charge lot counter. Oh, what a huge move. ByuN clearly and utterly distracted alongside myself and the Observer. But Nightmare, keeping his eyes on the prize, is able to get... Now that is the sort of counter damage. Yes, even though ByuN has to lift another base over. That's a weak point right there. ByuN's like, where did they come from? Honestly, I don't know either. They just walked... Oh, probably through the rocks here. Wow, so much going on, and Nightmare was able to keep a hold of it. 3-3 is about to complete for ByuN, which will make the upgrades just about even. 3-2-1 for Nightmare, 3-3 for ByuN. But those shield upgrades, a little helpful, especially for Archons. They also help buildings, technically, but... Charge Lance up to the north side. Nightmare has recovered from the damage earlier. The siege tanks in the center of the watchtower. Such a pain to dislodge. But once the charge lots close the distance, they should be able to do so. Still, not so much. He has an observer keeping an eye on things, even if the watchtower cannot. There's a warp prism, and it's full of Templar, of course. Thing is, I feel like you could just have warp prisms and ByuN would have to assume that they're full of Templar every time. More charge lots just kind of filing through the center. The Zealots at the 3rd taken out. Nightmare, there's a very forward sensor tower. Very helpful here, though, for ByuN, as he can see pretty much any attack path. That Storm. Templar, get the tail end of the army. Nightmare's doing such a good job of having map Templar out there. Keeping ByuN on his toes. Or melting them off. More command centers on the way. They're maxed out, but Nightmare's actually a bit better off on the bank. Though that can all change very quickly. Colossi, one crumbles. Another one is forced to retreat, but the Storm, the historical and literal counter to Vikings, is enough to drive them away into autumn colors. The Zealot, the incessant Zealot run-bys. Yes, the siege tanks are making them pay a toll every single time. But more SCVs will die. And more importantly, he's keeping ByuN busy. ByuN's in the center of the map here. I'm pretty sure the observer, while it was taken out, he knows this is coming. Yes, he's preemptively. So, I don't think you recall to this base. Nightmare's coming back around. Charge lots into the third. Yet again, 26 SCVs dead. Storm Templar comes up from the fourth base. And the charge lots. Where are you going? All right, this time around, ByuN will move the orbital out of the way. He has enough time. The Ghost Academy itself. And the army in the center of the map. 34 SCVs dead. ByuN now has 137 army supply, which is more than Nightmare can even make. So Nightmare slowly but surely cornering ByuN. He's trying to force him into a disadvantageous fight. He's willing to trade away some of his gateway units in order to take a better position on the map. Gotta be so careful here, though, because this sort of Terran army is the one that can roll over from all the way towards your main if you're not careful about it. There are 15 Vikings, 28 Marauders, 9 Ghosts, and a few Marines scattered in there. And the Zealots back at the third again, but ByuN has to keep coming back. And he has to keep stimming his Marines and Marauders to do so. And it's getting harder and harder for ByuN to actually retake his position on the map. And it looks like Nightmare, he's got that Storm Prism in the back. The Colossus is still alive. Drawing any amount of fire. It's still so hard to engage the Bio Ball. Now, notably, still not a singular disruptor out of Nightmare. He's relying on that older build, but it checks out. The Templar in the Prism. He's doing it against 15 Vikings, and he's still managed to maintain the Prism. Hero, take notes! Hero's like, I never learned how to read. It's like, well, that makes sense. I did. The Stalker softened up by EMP. Actually, a very awkward angle here, though. Charge lots from the back. The Templar pre-splitting. EMP hits one, but another Templar. Hit again, but more storms. And the Templar are just weathering it. Oh, another army comes up. The medevacs are nearly out of energy. The Terran healthcare plan is slowly but surely coming apart. The Bio Ball is still rolling, and Nightmare has dipped heavily in supply. But that isn't because he's out of money. I think he's kind of making a big decision. Oh, and a good recall. He covers it with the charge lots. And he chases down with the Stalkers. Target fires one full medevac. Gets a bunch of Vikings. And just like that, the supply lead goes to Nightmare. 30 supply lead. A beautiful recall. So this is the kind of Nightmare we're getting today. The decision making. I don't think Nightmare, I'm loath to say this, but I don't think Nightmare has made any real mistakes. He's taken tough fights, but it's almost impossible not to against Terran armies that look like this. And there, obviously, you can always micro more, but he's just kept everything he needed together and split off everything else to minimize its vulnerability. And now ByuN, it's all over but the crying on the BattleNet forums. He's still got Ghosts and Marauders and Marines, but Nightmare is not, this is not the kind of army. This is not the kind of position that you just get rolled over anymore. A couple Templar are going to be taken out, but Nightmare has hedged his bets. He's not reliant on disruptors, but instead, he's filling in the gateway units and covering for the smattering of Templar and Colossi. There's no part of this army that's easy for ByuN to deal with, and Nightmare always seems to have the extra special sauce drizzled on top. That he needs in order to complete the flavorful experience that is Protoss armies. Once again, somewhat ironic considering the nature of Protoss, but there are now 15 High Templar. And a brave Colossus in the back. The EMPs, but he's still got him in the He's dancing the prism. Oh. I can't. No. There's no way that wasn't. That was. That's almost a yellow card for me. Like. Just watch the prism. He's not hiding from anything. He's manually controlling it. The nightmare cam here. Dancing the prism back and forth. Gets hit by EMPs. But the Storm Templar are incredible. And Nightmare. Decisive victory. What a game. What? ByuN just outplayed. Not able. He built the right army. The army you're supposed to have to beat Protoss. You've got the Ghosts, you've got the Vikings, you've got Medivacs, and as many M-flavored units as you can put in between them. But Nightmare just... isn't afraid of Ghosts. Despite the Templar. That Ghosts are supposed to hard counter Templar. Not today. And again, I do want to stress, like, I don't think ByuN was making big mistakes. Well, it's not like he was missing EMPs. He didn't forget Ghosts. He just... It wasn't enough. I think that's what I mean when, like, when I say which Nightmare are we getting today? Is it a Nightmare that makes Protoss look like they try so hard and fall apart? Or a Nightmare that for the Terrans? And that's why I think he's... Nobody else is using Templar. MaxPax isn't using Templar. Hero isn't using Templar. Everybody's saying I have a Disruptor and I have a Dream. Do I think it'll work again? It could. But... he's making Templar look like the choice. And that's the kind of style that... in days of old... especially before the Disruptor even existed. Back in the day. Back in my day. Back in Wings of Liberty, 28 years ago. Back when K-Darren Amulet was in the game and you could warp in storms. Templar looking at Medivacs getting an energy regen upgrade. Like, are you kidding me right now? I've got some feedback for that. Oh, you said feedback? Nerf, Protoss. I see. Yeah. So Templar no longer can warp in with Storm. Which it was admittedly a lot. They can no longer they can no longer reliably kill ghosts with feedback. Technically, if a ghost has 200 energy, feedback does 0.5 damage per energy. Ghosts have 100 HP. So, for our mathematicians at home, you guys are nerds. Also, that means you kill the ghost in a single feedback. But the amount of times you'll see a ghost with 200 HP or 200 energy, well, you'd have to be able to see them because even cloaking takes energy, so. Gets the Reaper. Double clone opener for ByuN. Robo Blink on the way. Again, really focused on the composition. He wasn't afraid to expand. But the most important thing to Nightmare is building the right army. Getting the pieces together first, and then filling in the economy. Which, everything has to go right. Everything is so expensive. Whether it's Colossi, or Templar, even Blink Stalkers, it is all quite an investment. Meanwhile, ByuN just going for the 3cc again. It looks like we're going to have effectively the same openers from both sides. So now is the real test. Can he do it again? And whatever it is, mostly just outmaneuvering the incredibly mobile Terran army with great decision-making and preparation. Charge, third command center. And if he was going to build a Templar Archives, it would be right about now. 4 gates. Okay. I was really lining it up. He has 300 gas in the bank, so. There it is. Okay, okay. You have my attention. Well, I'd hope so. Otherwise, like, it'd be kind of weird. Just guessing. Just go off the sounds. Can't do that. This isn't Brood War. Get kind of close, though. Let me out! Dude, just lower the depot. You do it! You're standing right there. That's not how any of this works, bro. Contractors. And Storm. That's the choice, right off the bat. The Observer, right on the edge. He blunks onto the Cyclones, kills one off. There's Marines back there, kills the second clone. All right, that might be a bit much. 2 Stalkers, not too bad. Blinks back. Stim combat shield +1 on the way, and more gates being filled in. Nightmare keeping ByuN busy while he's at his most vulnerable point, which is while he's researching Storm and building up his gateway count. Did the Observer spot that? Yes, he caught a glimpse. The Stalkers are moving into position to intercept. Scan at the natural. Doesn't... Well, the fact that the Robo is... Oh, he definitely saw it. And being able to potentially intercept that double drop would be... Oh, there's no... Okay. Well, that's just gratuitous. He's hiding it back, waiting until it gets over... Yes. Whoa. And feedback as well, and the Storm throws everything. Doesn't have a kitchen sink because, again, Protoss wouldn't have kitchens because they don't have... That's enough. That's enough. Got a little greedy in trying to snipe him off, but still warding away that double drop. Nightmare, now that he has the army composition, takes a 3rd and then almost immediately a 4th. That 4th base on the way. He's trying to leapfrog ByuN's economy. But now he's going to try to come straight up a ramp into siege tanks. Some storms. Good storms. Great storms. He wades through it. And ByuN. And he gets out with the Templar. He slurps him back into the prism from afar. The SCVs will come off to repair. ByuN just sitting back. There's a second Robo and a Robo Bay on the way, as well as +1 ground weapons. ByuN, no slouch. He's already got +1 weapons of his own. He's got +1 armor as well. So, with the armory and NG Bay on the way, he's not going to be... In fact, he may have the upgrade advantage as time goes on. And already Ghosts in production. He's respecting the Templar and then some. And here comes the Bio Ball. How many Templar in total? 5 Templar. The charge loss. He's doing, like... Nightmare's getting so much done with the charge loss. He's definitely microing them to maximize their effectiveness. He's not just throwing them at the problem. I can't believe he killed a base with charge loss. That's such great timing last game. That was crazy. Oh, the Stalkers! You can't. Don't sleep on them. Alright, don't sleep. You might have nightmares. And the cannons to zone. He's feeling real confident in just a heads-up fight. And meanwhile, ByuN throwing up some missile turrets in order to zone out the prisms. Which is really the focal point of the build. And wow, look at that. He knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. That vision from Nightmare. ByuN doing his best to deal with it. Almost doesn't kill the Observer. Immortals being added in as well. We've got 2 Colossi. There are 29 charge lots, which is quite a number. Nightmare is maxed out, going on a 5th base now. He's got 10 gates. He's just mixing in the Immortals. He knows how much ByuN loves Marauders. So the Immortals, once the Marines are shaved away, whether by Storm or by Colossi, the Immortals can punch through the Marauders much more effectively. And this army, EMP, is not enough to ward it away. The Templar are protected by the Prism. And the Ghosts are being chased down. Right now, charge lots at the natural. Onto the Marauders. They can work on the bunkers. And meanwhile, he's going to hit the base. Lucky for ByuN, it wasn't a planetary yet. The Templar are preemptively dropping out. But the Storms, a dangerous force field. Another full energy Templar. The command center will get away, but 16 SCVs will not. As ByuN is boxed into his base by Nightmare's army. Alright. +2 armor about to finish for ByuN. He's going to have a pretty significant upgrade advantage. Feedback. I don't know if he hit a Ghost or a Medevac, but there's only 4 Ghosts, 4 High Templar. The Colossi still zoning out. There's 6 Vikings with this. The Medevacs are running out of energy. The feedback has actually done so much. He can't heal his Marines and Marauders. How does it feel, Terrans? Meanwhile, the Storms are coming in, and an Archon merge comes through. The Immortal helping out a lot, but is taken out finally. Some charge lots filtering through. And that might just be a bit too much from ByuN. Still, the Medevacs not able to heal up, and that means he has to retreat. Marauders usually not that intimidated by Colossi. But again, ByuN has to preemptively lift away his 4th base. And Nightmare rotates around. Will take out the turret, any remnant of ByuN ever existing there. 4 more gates on the way. He's got 75 probes. He's got 5 bases up and running. It's on ByuN to dislodge him from the front of his base. And right now, I don't think Nightmare's going to be able to do it. Or, I mean, ByuN's not going to be able to do it. Whatever I'm trying to say, Nightmare's ahead. He's in a great spot, and he's playing so well. ByuN he tried a double drop. It barely got spotted, and it feels like Nightmare's had full control of the situation ever since. Alright, he's coming around again. The charge lots, mostly a distraction. He's throwing away these minerals in order to focus. Ooh, that fight, an awkward angle. But he gets the SCVs, and he backs off with the Colossi just in time. $11 SCV kills. He's making more Colossi. ByuN, he's losing economy. His army composition, he has no ghosts. There's no ghosts. And that is a nightmare for ByuN. 4 medevacs at a time. More Colossi for Nightmare. He's got 16 gateways. He's incremented them out, and now it's come to fruition. Alright, 3 more medevacs on the way. Snipes off some more. And Nightmare breaking through, and he takes it 2-0. In indecisive fashion. Some of the best Protoss, just bar none, I've seen. And that means we got a bonus game, yes, against Clem. Nightmare versus Clem. Alright, we're not done here. Like and subscribe for bonus games. Anti-spoiler. You thought ByuN was going to come back with Ghosts and Vikings, and you were going to complain about Terran. You still got the opportunity, because Clem's coming up next, but... I am loving Nightmare's play. But again, like so many Protoss, his big struggle is every other day. And I don't mean that in all the other days. I mean about half the time he just crumbles horribly. and half the time he looks like an absolute genius. So which one is it going to be in this match against Clem on Ghost River? The map name doesn't bode well. And Clem, even past ByuN. Well, here's the thing, is Clem is so good at dodging disruptors. And Nightmare just beat ByuN without building a singular disruptor the entire series. And they weren't short games. We've seen Showtime versus Gumiho, Clem versus Max Pax, dozens of disruptors. And several times they might even hit Clem. But I really hope. Now, all I know is this is a match against Clem. Oh my god, the recall is too late. A Reaper gets the probe. So I don't know if he abstains from disruptors, whether by choice or by preference on this one. But it is an inspiring style in a time of relative darkness for Protoss against Terrans, in my opinion. And not just because they blink so much. The Zealot trying to fight it out, keeping the Reaper busy. Death comes for all. Speaking of, the Stalker, and he gets away with this. I love it. What? I can't believe I missed. What? 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 What am I looking at? I think he wanted to do exactly this. Like, he wanted to get the Zealot out there just quick enough, but Clem has kind of preempted that. So shield battery in the main. And he snipes off the Reaper. So an odd start, but not an unwelcome one. Yeah, I'm a completely unbiased caster, but I want Nightmare to show us how to crush Clem. As most of the Protoss victories I've seen recently, especially the ones that aren't hero micro, well, it just feels like blink stalkers and a lot of damage. But Nightmare is showing us a different path. A path lit by the High Templar, instead of from the shadows, blinking in and out. Gets on top. Loses 2 stalkers. Not great, not terrible. Gets a lot worse if he, yeah. Doesn't, he knows it's there. Uh-oh. Clem's not done. Get back here. He's gonna boost it again, isn't he? Here we go again. Nope. Come back here, old man. The shields. He's gonna get the stalker. Well, yep, it's Clem. Clem. Give him an inch, he'll take a kilometer. Alright, 4 stalkers are enough. He doesn't even have blink. Nightmare with just a robo. This is a crazy opener here. He's got charge on the way, so certainly something different. I'm not sure good or bad, but different, and I'll take it. Alright? I'm not gonna complain. That's what I was looking for when I loaded up the Nightmare games today. It's a bit of a risk because sometimes he just gets rolled. And that is why he still struggles to really find those, final round finishes in tournaments. He'll play some genius series and then just fall apart at the round of 16 or whatever. But it is something different. And the Raven, boxed out. Gonna be turned away. Interference Matrix is on the way. Clem anticipating a build that is not even remotely close to existing. Interference Matrix, great for dealing with Colossi or Immortals. I guess there's an Immortal here. But not nearly as helpful. Well, it helps against war. You know, honestly, it's only 50-50. It's such a cheap upgrade. There's almost no reason not to get it. The Raven is 50-50 less than it used to be, but the upgrade was added to try to kind of balance out the strength of the Raven so it wouldn't just have all those amazing abilities to start. But even the mini baby turret, not quite enough. The Observer Micro. Not a joke, not sarcasm, but the Observer Micro is so good from Nightmare. And a Templar Archives is on the way. Even a single Templar for feedback would be very helpful here. But charge is done. And if he's going to try to defend it, no, the Widow Mine! That hits, but the Immortal is blasting through the siege tanks. The Stalkers down in front, bro. The Stalkers get the medevac. They knock out the siege tanks. And Clem's push is done before it even started. Nightmare. Clem was anticipating the Colossi. It's always Colossi. But this time around, nothing of the sort. Raven coming in. We'll be able to slap down an auto turret. Unfortunately, there's no shield battery down here. Probe's a little bit late on the pull. Loses 2. Still hanging out in the corner. Observer still alive. And just now getting the triple threat online. Stim combat shield and +1. Well past the 7-minute mark. Raven's still looking around. Storm is nearly complete. And Clem, does he have a Ghost Academy? He does not. Has he seen the Templar Archives? He has not. He hasn't seen any Templar. He doesn't know about the Archives. This could be an absolute disaster moving out right now. There is that War Prism. He's got Widow Mines, but the Storm kind of preempts it. That War Prism, I think Clem knows what's in there. He has to know, right? He doesn't. Oh my god. And he can feed back the Raven. Nevermore! Shuts it down. The War Prism, more than enough. And there's still, I think, one more Storm at the back. So he has to pull back. And the War Prism is still intact, still full HP. All that Nightmare lost. He's only lost Zealots and 3 Stalkers. He didn't lose any Templar. He's only lost 1 Observer. God, he's playing so well. Clem, blindsided by the Storm Prism. It's such an odd choice, but it works out so well here. And now Clem plummets to a 25 supply lead. Oh, well. Unfortunately, he didn't outright kill too many units. Clem already has all his production online. Nightmare's now going up to 8 gates. He has 1 robo. Should be seeing a second one momentarily. 4th base is on the way. 4th command center for Clem as well. I like the way he's set up his base. All tucked in with the tech there. Gonna be very hard. Probably the last place that drops can snipe off. I get very, indignant about players who just jam all their tech at the very corner of the base and oh my god, surprise Pikachu that a double drop kills off all your upgrades and your Templar Archives. Like, but Nightmare not doing that, setting up his base nicely to deal with it. And look at that vision. Open your eyes. He just sees everything. He has full coverage, and even when he didn't, he moves in actively to spot. I love it. A charge lot checking for bases. He's just limiting Clem's options. Clem, though, not one to be limited easily. God, it's almost like creep spread. I don't think Clem's going to be sitting in his base too much longer. He's finishing up Ghosts. He doesn't have any other big upgrades finishing. So once the Ghosts are on the field, in high enough number, there's no reason to hold back. Alright. Only the single robo here. Vikings out in front. Oh my god, the Templar Prism. He's keeping it at the back. And, well, this is awkward. Here come the medevacs. Feedback on 2. That's actually a huge move here. I think that's a bigger win. And he still has the Templar. He recalls out to where? To the 3rd. Oh, feedback's on the ghosts! Gets his base knocked out, but Nightmare's down 30 supply, though. This is still such a dangerous army, and he doesn't know where the army itself is. EMP catches several Templar. Gets one big storm off, saves another one. The Vikings trying to come in. Charge lots as well. There's Guardian Shield, keeping... Oh, no. But Storms will ward away some of the flank. So much damage. The Stalkers join up an Immortal underneath. That Immortal, 9 kills and counting. And Clem unable to break through for now. More Templar coming up. Are there any more ghosts? There's one more ghost on the field. It's with the army. But the Medivacs, well, being taken out. And some of them pretty low on the energy. Scan spots the Templar, but he preempts it. The Raven actually gets through 7 kills. Vikings on the ground. But they'll get stormed all the same. Gets a Templar merge. The Immortal backing up. There's the Ghost has no energy. He got the feedback, and that means there's no counter to the storm. But Clem down. Clem up 50 supply. Nightmare trying to chase it down. Might be able to pick up a couple more units here, but does he have the production? 12 gateways. +2 weapons is done. And the Widow Mine's retargeted by Clem onto the Archon. And that helps out so much. Would have killed his own Medivacs, but instead finishes off an Archon with 2 Widow Mines. Those Templar are taken down. Clem still at 50 supply as Nightmare. Despite such great moves, he hasn't been able to get the economic damage to slow Clem down. Very simply, he just doesn't have the units he needs to win the war of attrition. He has the charge lots out in front. The Colossus is helpful. And Clem doesn't have any Vikings here. The charge lot's literally fanning out. And Clem is stutter-stepping Marines towards a Colossus. Because of course he is. That Colossus, a single shield battery overcharge. And so many Templar gliding down. He's kept them in reserve, but +2 weapons is now done for Clem. Another big upgrade finishing. Blinks forward, regrets it immediately, but the Ghost dies. And that is the most important part of all this. Does he have Warp Prism speed? That could be an incredibly helpful upgrade. And Templar gets him into the Prism. And Nightmare has survived the pre-splits on the Templar. The War Prism. Viking count growing again, but Clem has not been able to break through, and he hasn't been able to do much economic damage to Nightmare, who now is at 79 probes as well. So, the closer the supplies get, the more likely it is Nightmare can take a decisive engagement and turn it with that. As that seems to be his speciality. +3 weapons about to complete for Nightmare. It's been surprisingly quiet, which I think Nightmare knows means there's something afoot. But there is a Templar with energy on both sides. Gets one, but another storm as well. Gonna need to merge those Templar. Meanwhile, fighting in the midfield. The Vikings knock out a Colossus. The War Prism, with all the Templars still intact. If he loses that, the game is soon to follow. Another spat of Vikings. Oh, he gets the Templar out. Loses the Prism, though. Will he remake that immediately or go for another Colossus? That'll kind of tell you what his priorities are. Widow Mines splits a little. Not that it matters much. Pre-splitting the Templar. Forcing Clem. Ah, the storm! He gets a feedback and a storm! Oh my! Another EMP, but he gets the Archon merge. That Templar in the trees. He's funneling the charge lots into a planetary. The Nightmare not respecting it. The command centers are funneling them. How many ghosts? Just one. There's no ghosts with this army. And without them, Nightmare realizes the storms could be super effective. The Vikings are on the ground, like, waddling their way up. But Nightmare is able, he has more than enough Stalkers to fight that. What's happening here? Oh no, he selected the army? And Clem realizes. Just in time. Nightmare a bit optimistic on this base. Clem could drop it immediately. No, Warp Prism. He did get another Prism. Triple turret from the Raven in the back. Oh no. This makes me feel things. Oh, so the splash damage from the first Widow Mine being revealed killed the second before it could fire. It wouldn't have killed the Colossus, but it would have gotten damn close. Widow Mine hits, but Nightmare's even on supply. He's done such a great job of conserving his army. And the Vikings, looking to knock out the Colossus. And he saves it with the Prism! And then it dies immediately, but it was still pretty cool. Alright, looks for another snipe. Going for it. Gets up. Oh, more beautiful, beautiful storms. But is it enough? Clem still has medevacs. The storms will continue until morale improves. The ghost count is never high enough. He just seems to keep having enough units. More ghosts coming down. It's just Stalkers and Zealots, which are usually the dregs of the Protoss army. But he broke through, and there's more Templar. Where does he keep getting these Templar from? Where can I buy more Templar with full energy for my games? Oh my. A storm's coming. And Clem is fighting against it. And he's losing the battle! Clem driven back off the high ground. Ground armor level 2. And Clem being driven back. Look at the supply! Takes out the Raven! 119 Zealots, well spent. Clem being outmaneuvered just like ByuN before him. And with the Stalker Micro Stalker Colossus, a classic composition, Nightmare takes the victory, putting the ghosts away on Ghost River and drowning them in the storm. With some inspiring Protoss. It has been a while since I've seen, like, a playstyle that, well, it's not new, despite whatever YouTube clickbait titles will tell you, but at the same time, it is a breath of fresh air. Filled with Psionic Storm, but still. And it didn't look like a gimmick, it didn't look like ByuN and Clem making big mistakes. It's just Nightmare being 2-3 steps ahead. And, in fact, it's easy to do so when you have a Warp Prism in the right place. But hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did. And hopefully it made your day a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.